and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston, joining me and co-hosts in Maceo Dill and Garrett Punchy Dill. Gentlemen, first of all, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Good evening, Bermuda.
Good evening to you all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's just quickly run down the weekend scores and the midweek score as well, because we had some of those that went on through the week. In the league this week, we had on Wednesday, that was okay. So on Tuesday night, it was North Village Rams 4, Southampton Rangers 0, and then that was league. And then yesterday, it was PHC Zebras 3, then Devonshire Cougars 1. Today was Devonshire Colts 1, North Village Rams 2, and Somerset Eagles 1, Robin Hood 4. That was Premier Division. And in the first division today, it was Paget Lions 1, Vasco 1, Wolves 1, and BAA 1. So let's start first with that game on Tuesday night. No big real surprise. Southampton Rangers still struggling with finding the back of the net. They unfortunately had to see Dion Stubble go off and it kind of relaxed a little more for North Village, but North Village was able to get the 4 goals. Much needed points, much needed win morale-wise, because of the fact that a lot of the players who were here over the break are now going back. So the players that were here that I guess we could say they struggled at the beginning of the season are now finding their feet.
From North Village perspective?
Yeah.
I watched the game that night. North Village was always going to win it. They was always going to win that game. On a positive note, I guess if I try to take something positive of the game, when you look at Rangers, you can see they're now being coached. You can see they're being coached and organized. And, it took North Village 60 minutes to break Rangers down. And it actually, breaking Rangers down actually came from a mistake from Streaker Adams. And the first 2 goals came from a mistake from the goalkeeper. He literally watched one go in, the first one, misjudged it. That was going in the corner. He misjudged it. And the second one was struck right at him. And he, it swerved off and he got a hand on it, but it ended up in the back of the net. Just his lack of reflexes at this point in time in his age. Mm-hmm. But Village actually struggled to break Rangers down. Rangers had some dangerous moments, but you could see how the game was shaping up, that North Village was just going to be too strong for them afterwards. They were going to be too strong for them going into the stretch of the game, and 4-0 actually was a fair result for that game. Rangers is just in a lot of trouble. They're although they're being coached, they're being organized, they have no quality to win games. Mm. They have no real quality to win a game. Mm.
Yeah. Punchy, hearing that score from Tuesday night, what were your thoughts?
Well, we had spoken about this at the beginning of the season, with the quality of players that Rangers have. Dion Starbell gets hurt, he goes off. You saw this coming. We go back to the scores before then. Let's go back like a couple of months ago. Rangers losing 6 and 7, and that's when before Streaker was in the goal. And then even looking at the bench, looking at the amount of people that would come off the bench if someone like Dion Starbell gets hurt, the results are just, we just knew that this was going to be a result. It's only a matter of how many. Mm-hmm. North Village is finding the feet again. I guess they want to rebound against the Worcester PHC, I believe, which is probably a good result for them. But, we talk about good coaching organization. You got Streaker there. You can see something that's happening. But if you can have that and if you got the quality of players, that's going to be your problem. And I think that's what, Rangers are. I think we've always said this, even that they're one that we're looking to be demoted. And I put my hands up for Streaker. But this is a tough task. Tough task.
Yeah. And the one thing I would say, he's now played 3 games, and having not played for close to 10 years, the body's got to be feeling it.
Yeah.
Although you'll start to get some sense of positioning back and all the other things, it's that recovery. It's the body's just not going to react how it used to react before, especially if you haven't kept yourself in goalkeeping shape. I mean, for a goalkeeper, you're going from side to side. A lot of people just look at the goalkeeper, then he stands around. You know what I mean?
Well, he was doing an excellent job of not having any shots taken at him.
Right.
You know, he showed a different quality in goalkeeper by organizing defense, and that's actually our unspoken quality of a goalkeeper. You know, we all talk about goalkeepers that make all these fabulous saves, but we don't talk enough about goalkeepers that prevent people from making saves. You know, I mean, prevent the shots being taken at because they're organizing their defense, and that's what he done well. He done well with his communication, his leadership in stifling North Village, so nobody can shoot at him.
Right.
But once somebody shot at him,
It was trouble.
it was trouble. You know, it was trouble, and I think him letting in the two girls would have deflated his team. You know, they actually it did deflate his team to say, okay, well we can't come back from there. And at that moment, at 2-0, Dion Stovall, he went off. He was like, okay, well, I got to save myself for a more important game that potentially we can win. Mm-hmm. So Rangers is looking at games that they can potentially win. But it was there for 60 minutes for them to potentially get something out of the match. But 1-0 down, they was never going to come back from 1-0.
Sure.
Yeah, if I could just add something to that, what my concern would be, let's say it looks like they're going to be demoted to the other division. Mm-hmm. Now, will they go down and play in that division? Of course, they. From what I've seen from Rangers, if they stay, they have to keep the players, and then they win that next year. They win that division and they're promoted again. He would need still recruitment. Yes. He would still need players.
Yeah.
And so that's my thinking about what's the direction that the Rangers are heading in. Of course, what we talked about before, losing that amount of quality players, it's going to be some adjustment for Striker again. Yeah. Making where do they go from here? What's going to happen in a year's time for him?
Yeah. Then yesterday at the PHC Stadium, it was vital for both teams to try and get a win as they chase the Dandytown Hornets with games in hand, and that's important. Both of them had 2 games in hand on Dandytown. Dandytown had a 10-point lead with PHC winning 3-1 and still got another game in hand. They can actually close that down to 4, meaning that they got to hope that they can beat Dandytown another time and Dandytown step up for another game. But winning the games is important in order if you still want to have that ambition of winning the league. Now, are Devonshire Cougars out of it? Not wholeheartedly, but it made it that much more difficult. Maceo, you saw the game. What did you think of how PHC applied themselves to actually come away with a 3-1 win?
But it just proves that PHC is farther along their climb to the top than Cougars at this moment. PHC's what you see out of PHC, I would say this has been 3-4 seasons in the making. And as they're integrating some of their youth players into their team, and they've got established senior players such as Marco, so if we think of PHC holistic, they're not taking a step back, losing Sequoia Robinson. They're not taking a step back when they lost Trey Mean. Their program and their club has been in a forward movement. So even losing established players like that, they're not taking a step back, and they're continuing to take steps forward. But it doesn't. I predicted that they will win the league this year, but I was a year off. It's probably a year off. Whereas they're not ready to win the league this year. Mm-hmm. They're not ready to win the league this year. So I see they're ahead of Cougars for sure, and Cougars will be starting their own sort of development plan back to the top per se. So it'll be interesting to see if going into next season that you can get 3 or 4 teams that can compete for the top. I still think Dannytown's runaway leaders right now.
Right. Hans?
Yeah, I thought it would have been a little closer than that. I thought so. I thought it would have been a little, maybe, because I think I predicted a draw in that one.
Mm-hmm.
But PHC had a couple of bad patches, spells around December, of course, with the COVID. I think there was a couple of games that they drew that we thought they should have won. So, of course, they've dropped points. I still think that they are, with Denny Tom probably running away with the league. I think you're looking at PHC to be second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to win the league.
Right.
But in terms of the cup games now, that's where you will see the strengths. That's where I think even the FA Cup, they eliminated North Village in the Friendship, I believe. Yep. So you're going to see the rebound of PHC. Now, as I said, we first said at the beginning of this show, beginning of the season, that PHC looked like heads and shoulders above people. So they are still in the process of building a good, strong foundation there. So, I was kind of thought that they're getting back to that game, them being Cougars. I thought, well, that would have been 2-2. But again, Cougars Cougars also in the South. They're still, you just started with Kwame. So, are they in the rebuilding stage? Yes, they are. I just think that PH is a little bit more, has a little bit more than accomplished players in parts of the team, especially having Antoine there. He just adds to his knowledge. So I kind of surprised, but I think PHC from going forwards now, you're gonna see some positive results from them for sure.
Macy, how do you think Kwame handled that pressure? Because obviously PHC is a running team, still like to play the ball around in the new style now, but how do you think he handled that pressure? Because this would have been one of his biggest tests thus far.
Well, in watching the game, I always say that coaches become married to a way of playing football. And what I mean by that, they have a way of they want to play football, and Kwame's way of playing football is to play at the back, move the ball around, play through the lines and stuff like that. And they feel like it's going to be too strong for them physically. There's going to be too strong for them. For Cougars to dominate the ball, So sometimes it takes to get the result. It takes a different tactical approach to get the result based on what you're seeing. And I use the language that to play the game beautifully, you have to earn the right to do. You have to earn that respect that a team respects you for being able to play the ball around. So I know Kwame. I've watched him over a period of time, even at his time at Dandytown, when he didn't have certain players and he still attempted to play in the same way. He still attempted to play the game in a certain way, and he couldn't with that. And I always refer back to me as a coach. I knew when I didn't have 2 or 3 players, my puzzle piece wasn't going to be complete. So I changed the way that I played to get the result. So but that's always a touchy subject with coaches to change their idea of the game. Right. And I like to have 5 different ideas of the game, depending on who I'm playing, because at that level, I keep saying, at that level, it's always about getting the result.
Sure. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the North Village Devils Colts game as well as the Robin Hood Somerset Eagles game. We'll be right back.
Our old friends Arrowhead Mills was founded in the 1960s in the famous Texas Panhandle with the ambition to promote the production and use of pesticide-free grains, cereals, and pulses. The mission was to bring the most wholesome food attainable to the mainstream markets. Since then, Arrowhead Mills has increased its range of products, most of which are certified organic. You can be sure that Arrowhead Mills know a thing or two about good eats. This month, we're featuring Arrowhead Mills green and red organic lentils. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. I'm still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back. Well, at Police Field, I guess North Village went there looking for a bit of revenge because earlier in the season, Devonshire Colts went down to Bernard Park and defeated North Village 2-1. North Village today returned that favor, but just hearing that score, Devonshire Colts seem to match up very well against North Village. And no matter who's dominating at the time, those two teams always seem to kind of struggle against each other. When I say struggle against, match each other, quite well. Your thoughts on North Village winning 2-1, don't you?
Yeah, you put it right, Earl. Yeah, they seem to match. They seem to do really well against North Village, and it will go on and on with that. Again, I thought there was going to be. I thought maybe North Village would. I did predict that North Village would win this game. I'm sure we all did, but I'm amazed by the score 2-1. But like a derby, whenever Devonshire Colts are playing North Village, they seem to they really, get themselves hyped up for this game. And they play a lot better because they seem to, when I saw them play against, when they lost to Cougars, and I was like, whoa, they were really there up there that game. I think it was 5-4, 5-0, 5. Yeah. But in 15 minutes, they were already 3-0 down. I found it particularly interesting in that they look very open. So yeah, I mean, it's a derby. I think with the coach, as we know, Ray, if he he's definitely up in North Village because we be talking about that, and I was seeing Ray say, Ray said I got something for you guys. Don't worry, I got something for you guys. So anyway, it's always close to us. And 3 points for North Village. I think North Village is still, as I said to you guys before, a fourth place in the league. A fourth place. But then they got to go. PHC's got to come down to the Bernard Park. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I mean, I'm maybe I'm speaking far ahead of myself, but I'm not sure they're going to get a result. North Village get a result against PHC. So again, predictable, very predictable. Yes. We did say, again, just added to what I said too, we did think that North Village would win this game. I thought it would be a lot better. I think with school line should have been maybe 3 or 4, but that's how it is.
Mace?
And I mean, North Village always gives every team an opportunity to play against them, right? They always, they're not a high pressing team. They're not a team. They've never been a team or club, and even from Kenny's perspective, it's never been a coach that looks to eliminate what somebody else can do to him. He looks to implement how he wants to play the game. So his total focus is how he wants to play a game. And I think sometimes that he misses a trick with that versus looking at the opposition and saying, well, how can I take away what they can do to me? Mm-hmm. Let's take away, because it's a fine balance looking at the opposition and say, well, let me nullify what they can do for me so I can implement my way of doing stuff. So what I mean by all of that is that North Village always gives a team an opportunity to play how they sometimes match up. So it's no surprise in Devonshire Colts, even in the direction they're going, which is the wrong direction, and the direction North Village is going, which is they're starting to find their feet and get results, the game is still close. The game is still close, and Devonshire Colts, could feel they can win the match. They actually score first, but it also shows that Ray has not learned what I thought he was learning. He's not learning what I thought he was learning, how to get matches across the line, how to figure out how to get a match across the line based on the circumstances. And that's a criticism of a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches in Bermuda, as they're reading the game, to figure out how to get it across the line, how to get that match across the line when the match is on the line. You know,
could it be similar to what Rangers have just not got the quality? I know that he still has a very, very young and an inexperienced team. They've been together for a while, but when you come to this division, you've got to be consistent. So could that be a part of the problem?
When I look at his team, I actually think differently. I actually think he could get different results. You know, is there any like 4 teams in the league that I don't think no matter what you could do, you can get a result? And Paget being one, Rangers being one, Eagles being another team, you know, Vasco, whereas they don't have any real quality in their team that they can take advantage of. Devonshire Colts do have some quality in their team that with a different approach, they can take advantage of that quality to get a match across the line. But it takes the coaches to learn how to hide their weaknesses and promote their qualities. And a lot of these coaches, I'm finding that they don't know how to hide their weaknesses. You know, to be able to get to let their better players impact or win the matches.
Right.
Yeah.
The other point I would probably try to make is the fact that just like Devonshire Cougars, we didn't mention it, but just like Devonshire Cougars, Devonshire Colts have been out for 2 weeks due to COVID with a number of players. So how much time have they been able to work as a team, through the period and then now into a game? So, we have to look at all those scenarios that could possibly affect them. But like you say, they've got to figure a way to get over the line.
It's all. I mean, when you look at it, let's see. I mean, we looked at Liverpool played today. They got the 2 best players in the African Cup, and he's figuring out how to get the match across the line, and a little different approach, a little different tweak. You figure out how to get the match across the line based on what you got, the personnel that you got, right? And that's when I go back to so many coaches are so married to their way of playing the game that they don't make that little adjustment at this level to be able to get that match across the line. And an example I can say, I mean, in my time coaching at North Village, and people say I had all these good players, and at certain times those players weren't available for whatever reason. So I changed the approach where I played long balls over the back of teams. And people at North Village hated it, right? They hated it because they're saying it's a PHC style of football, but it became very effective. Turning defenses around, playing a little bit more direct and pushing my line up the field. So there's different technical approaches that can be implemented to get a match across the line. But we're so reluctant to employ those things because we're married to a way that we see the game.
I want to add something too about what you just mentioned earlier about Devonshire Colts and the players that they have. Is there quality there? If I go back a couple of years ago, let's say you start adding quality players to your roster, which, for example, St. George's have done. LaShawn Hill. Who else have the center have used play for North Village? They add some real quality names there. So if I go back to a couple of years ago when I saw Devonshire Colts really beat St. George's 2 years ago when they were both being promoted, and they beat them at St. George's 3-0. And I thought Devonshire Colts looked very, very. They were really good that day, and I said, "Whoa, okay." Let's see what happens in the future now. But if you look at what's happened for St. George's compared to what Devonshire Colts has picked up, the players, there's a difference. Yeah. So I do have to add the fact that you, as a coach, come up with different systems, come up with okay, let's try something different. But you still got to at times have quality. What matters. And I think again, I'm going back to what I said earlier. What has St. George's? What have they picked up? So look who St. George's has picked up. Why are they where they are now? Steady. And look what Devonshire Colts are. I just don't think they have the qualities in certain parts of their team. They're lacking that.
Definitely. Well, the final Premier Division game of the weekend was Somerset Eagles 1, Robin Hood 4. Now, for some reason, Somerset Eagles only had the availability of 11 players today. They had no substitutes. I'm not sure if it was COVID related or what, but they only had 11 players available to them. They found themselves down 2-0 after only 8 minutes, and they actually scored right after that. But eventually, if you can't freshen up some legs, because Robin Hood only scored once in the second half, but they were able to bring more fresher legs, whereas Somerset Eagles were hindered in that regard, which makes it even more difficult for them, because when things are not going right for you and you're at the bottom of the table and that team is one of the teams you're trying to catch, you go into a match and you're kind of already one hand behind your back kind of thing, makes it even more difficult. What do you thoughts, Maceo?
Yeah, only having 11 players to select from, that's always a problem. That's a problem. That's a sad situation for me when I look at the game of Bermuda holistically, and just having 11 players. It's part of a different conversation that needs to be held. Like, do we have too many teams in Bermuda far as the players that we have? And it is manifesting itself, right? Because in Somerset alone, you have Somerset Eagles, you have Somerset Cricket Club, and you have Dockyard. Island Rangers. And it's showing that we're struggling for players. But as it relates to the game, as it relates to that specific game, you have to give kudos to Robin Hood, because even, and this is what I go back to the point earlier, Robin Hood lost a whole lot of players, but they're putting together a system that makes them hard to beat. You have to beat them. They're not trying to outplay you. They're not trying to do all those things. You have to break them down, and they take their chances. They take their chances if you make a mistake on the other side. You have to beat them. So they're showing that they can. Robin Hood is showing that they can beat these teams that are a bit on their level or a bit below on the same space. It would always be hard for Robin Hood to beat one of the bigger teams such as PHC, Dandenong, who just have the quality and the firepower to push the match across the line, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to give a bit of credit to Robin Hood in the position that they're in, that they're coming with an organized plan, and they're trying to figure out how to stay in this league, right?
Right, definitely. Bunchy?
That's making it interesting, because they're climbing out of that space.
Yeah.
And they're potentially bringing another team closer to that space, and Colts could be a team that they're bringing closer to that space.
They're both on the same amount of points, but Robin Hood has a better goal average. So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised. Getting back to what I was speaking about Robin Hood. I thought Somerset Eagles would have won this game today. I thought so, just by the odd goal, and they were home.
Right.
But there's no way that you're gonna come up with 11 players, just 11, and expect a result. I'm sorry, it just is not gonna work, especially if you don't got the quality. And I keep speaking about that. Now, getting this talk about Robin Hood, the game against North Village, I was a bit surprised. Not only, they have some really good young players. Mm-hmm. I saw some real good quality there. So the structure right, of course, Leverock is going to make sure that remains. So you can see them. I saw a real structure there again. When they played against North Village, they lost, but I still say, whoa, there's something there. And so surprising results, because I thought that Somerset Eagles would have won that game. I respected, at being at home. Mm-hmm. But kudos to Robin Hood and what they're attempted to do. And that is, of course, structuring the program, the humble, very organized. And I'm really happy with what I see, something of the younger players that are playing there. Right. That I can't remember coming to a junior program. I don't know much of them. But again, I still saw something really, really good with them. Yeah,
well, their junior program, which is the Warwick Archers, won 2 of the trophies yesterday, the under-17 and the under-15. So they have those guys to come through. So the future looks bright if we could just, stick together kind of thing. As in any club, when you have a youth program, you just have to stick together and filtering in those youngsters as they develop into senior players and not push them too fast. So the future looks bright for them right now. If they just keep their head above water. We're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll break down the First Division matches this weekend. We'll be right back.
Amy's Kitchen is an independent organic food company, a family business who've been producing wholesome and flavorful foods over 30 years. From their first pot pie right up to 1 million meals a day, and firmly believe in the importance of TLC throughout the entire process. This month we're featuring a range of Amy's organic beans, refried and baked, chilies, medium, spicy and beyond, and a multitude of organic soups, minestrone, chunky tomato bisque, cream of mushroom, hearty Thai coconut, and much more. Lindo's, why when a place else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Welcome back. Up at Southampton Rangers, it was Paget against Vasco. I could take note that Gary Adams has now put himself in the lineup for Vasco, I guess, to try and change a bit of fortune. But that's still work in progress. Paget came again close to getting that Maceo win. I'm looking for that Maceo win. But hearing that someone like Gary, who's now player coach, having to play, with so many other players around, what do you think it's panic time for them? They're desperate for points, or do you think he needs to play in order to get them to do what he wants them to do on the field?
I personally have no time for player coaches. I have no time for it. I've never seen it work. I've never seen the benefit of it. It stresses. I mean, if we go back to Streaker having to play, he was doing a fabulous job of managing his team on the field. But I could tell you the mistake that he made is going to make him now doubt him as a coach, because he made a mistake in that game that cost his team. His tactics were right going into it. So Gary having to play shows a couple of things. It shows, we're struggling for players, which we know. Across the board, we're struggling for players to be able to just participate, right? And I actually think it's cheating the game, because these guys are not in good shape. They're not, I always think if there's an older player that's going to play, he's got to be in better shape than the younger players. He's got to be ahead of the younger players. That's been the rule of thumb. I mean, if you look at even Cristiano Ronaldo, he's an older player, 37 years old. He's not cheating the game. He's keeping himself in shape. And I go back to even at my time, an older player stayed around and played more like for instance, a payback. Dwight Warren played when he was a little bit older. He kept himself in better shape than some of the younger players. So he set good examples for the younger players. So I don't have a lot of time for it, for the player coach in the capacity that is happening, but it just shows that it's a struggle going there. It's an act of desperation going on now with Vasco, and it's not like his impacting a positive result.
What's your thoughts on Paget just coming up short again?
Kudos to him again, right? Because I'm watching him play 3 times now. I watched them play 3 times, and they're determined. They're getting they're getting better and better and better in their organization. And I know a bit about their coach, right? I know Don, you know, and I know his structure, and he's using that structure to be able to keep himself in games. And that's why I always would say I would like to see a person like Don coach a bigger team. Like I like to see him coach a North Village, or you know, we see what's happening with Aaron Dankins coaching at the level. He's historically coached at the women's level. Now he's coaching at Dennytown, and he's learning something, you know, coaching at that level that potentially they could be Triple Crown champions. So I like to see coaches grow their profile in that dynamic. So you know, do I think Paget's going to get a game? No, I still don't think they're going to win a game. You know, the draw game, but they got 2 points.
Wait till the picks come out. Punchy, what's your thoughts on that Paget Vasca result?
Actually, what was it? 1-1, or was it Paget?
1-1. That's 1-1.
Yeah. Well, you know, before I even talk about the result, I'm gonna add. Let's talk about coaching and playing in this country. Now, I guess a lot of people, hats off to Dante LeBlanc, I believe, at
Robin Hood.
At Robin Hood, yes. But I've been there, done that, and it's really hard. Now, sometimes you're thrust into that position because you don't have the man, like Streaker. And I guess, I don't know what Mr. Adams said today, if he had the numbers, but it's very difficult. And players react to you as coach, and you get on this line making mistakes. And again, you're not in the shape that you should be in. That is what Maceo said. So it's difficult, but sometimes it's thrust upon them. About Paget, now I'm talking about the result. Yeah, surprisingly, I thought Ford Vasca would have scraped through on this one. But you know, maybe like I said, with Paget rebuilding to take steps. You know, the plane. I think that's the home field, I believe. Calling the Rangers. Am I correct?
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, I went past there because I had to go up to do a job up in Dockyard, and it was quite a few people there.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a few people there. I was like, "Whoa, okay." So I'm sure. So it's a rebuilding process for Paget. It's going to take time. And again, I wish that coach the best. I wish him the best. But Mr. Adams, I want to tell you this or now. This is going to be a very difficult time for you. And just take it from me. You need to be in shape, but I prefer for you to be coaching from sidelines on a Sunday. And you're going to have to fix that. You have to fix whatever's going wrong. And I wish you the best. That's my take on that.
Right. And then down at Wellington Oval, it was BAA 1, Wolves 1. Big field. We would have we all expressed how we felt Andrew would assess this game, you know, utilizing the space, and, you know, how Wolves play. But you know, as you guys have indicated, Wolves doesn't give you everything they got. Doesn't just be disruptive, and Wolves took the lead. So BAA is playing from behind and so forth. So just hearing that result, Punchy, Wolves 1, BAA 1 at Wellington Oval.
Yeah. Well, again, we're going to talk about, you know, Mr. Bascom and his order and how he's organized. I know he's going on with a real good plan. Wider areas, you know, playing at St. George's. So I'm sure that was a very good result for BAA. Very good result playing away from, you know, playing on St. George's. So again, I just got a young squad, very organized. I think surprised by that, but I might have called that a 1-1. I might have called that a draw. But again, let's say with BA, I think they're going to be organized. What, the second, am I correct? The second after Hamilton Parish now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the number 2. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you would look down and say, well, who can BA, if BA gets promoted, who can they, you know, who they continue on looking at who they're going to play next in that division? It's like, well, we're going to expect BA to beat Island Rangers. We're expecting BA to beat St. David's. So, but with Wolves now, still just very disappointed in what's happening there. You're talking about, I think it's Mr. Lee that left North Village. I said this before. I think there's another guy, I can't remember his name, the midfielder. What is really going on with Wolves? Organization, good players, lack of organization. And the results speak for themselves.
Jason picked up an injury, ran off after 7 minutes. So, yeah.
I mean, Andrews playing the league now, right? He knows this is sacking the sack, and this is the point we're making. He knows what he's got, a bunch of young players. So now he is adapting, how he plays the game to get the results across the line, even with young players. It's not an excuse for him to say, well, I've got young, inexperienced players. He's got young and inexperienced players in a position where they can get promoted. He's getting the results across the line at this level. Quality and experience will show up. It will show up. He got a result across the line against Hamilton Parish. So it will show up against one of the teams that come out there and are prepared to intimidate and bully the younger players. It showed up against Social Club. When Social Club put 4-1 in them, like they kicked them, they pushed them, there's Lord knows what they're saying to the young players, and that inexperience did show up. But from the coaching perspective of him, he's got him in a position to get promoted. Now let's watch this space to see if he can get across the line. And I mean, from where I sit, is it even good for those young players to get promoted?
I was going to make that comment. Let's have a little discussion about that. Because,
is it even good at this time? That they might be that might get them a little bit ahead of that. But if they get promoted, he potentially gets more players.
Yeah. You probably have half of the people saying yes, it's good. Half the people saying no, not right now. They need maybe another year. But that's all up to. I mean, Andrew's experienced enough to know. Just looking at the players he has, and then looking at what he would need if he plans to survive. First of all, because that's the first thing when you go up. Your first order of business is to survive.
Right.
And what quality do you need? In what areas do you need them in order to get that accomplished? Yeah.
So I think that that definitely in a shout for promotion. I mean, last week I was speaking as talking about Boulevard as being getting promotion, but BA's got they're showing they're going to be a loud voice in that conversation. They're going to be a very loud voice, and I know Andrew, if BA was to get promoted, that he will get additional players that will come over to BA, that will play for him, that can help him sustain at that level. But the point I'm making about all this is coaching and making decisions based on how the circumstances are going, how the season's going, and what you have available to you as a player pool. Andrews lost goalkeepers this season. I mean, Cooper went away. He lost a goalkeeper, but that didn't say that he's not going to be in this position because the goalkeeper is an important piece, right? He took a defender and played him in goal and set it up. So again, this is coaching. This is what I'm talking about, what coaching actually looks like. And some of these teams should be in far better positions than they are if they coach better, or then if they made different coaching decisions, they can be in a lot better position than they are.
Sure. Punchy, I know you talk often about Wolves. What's your take?
It's an organization. If let's say you take Andrew and you put him at Wolves, or you take Andrew, you put him, let's say, Island Rangers. I don't think that's going to happen anyway. But what would you get? I think Andrew's in a position now at BA with the young players that listen. That listen, you can see they take instructions well, and there's a good plan there, which I saw against when they played Hamilton Parish. Not really these great players. The movement was good. They defensively they were good, and they never gave up. And you could see a good structure. You could see good structure. And I was surprised when I saw the game. I was like, "Whoa, these guys are like Hamilton Parish." You see the structure there. So with Andrew coaching those youngsters, you could see a plus. There's a plus, and it's good for the country too. It's very good for the country to see young players like that playing very good, organized, known taking instructions well, and applying themselves well, to really doing well. About Wolves, again, my disappointment, because again, I know it's a following there. It's God, it's so much potential. It could be better. So I keep saying that it's a problem with Wolves in terms of what direction they want to go in, what they're looking for in the future, which is really and who's coaching them?
It will be interesting if Wolves are being able to encourage John Barry back down there, and the interesting piece, if they are able to encourage him back, do they respect him and behave enough to listen to what he's going to tell them? Because the last time they had a low momentum is when John Barry had him.
Mm-hmm.
But after he got him promoted, they decide that, okay, well, we're not going to listen to you anymore. We're promoted, and we know what's best. And that happens so much in Bermuda, where when the work needs to be done, people don't step up to do the work. Then somebody does the work, puts you in position, and then all of a sudden, everybody comes and wants a piece of and saying where we go next and how we do it next, and they lose sight or they lose respect for the people that have put the work to put them in certain positions. I would like to see, if they can encourage John Barry to come back down there with the type of players that they have, and I almost know you'll see an immediate different result.
Are you saying you want the players to encourage him or the fans to encourage him? Because
the players might have to touch his heart. They might have to go and touch his heart.
Yeah.
Well, when we're talking about coaching, and I'm just at the result with I think it was in Davis last week with the young players. I saw the coach. I think it's Lugo coaching them, isn't he? Is that my coach? Yeah. I congratulate him. I said, he says it feels like it's heading in the right direction with St. Davis, with young players for listening. And be interesting, because I haven't seen him play this year. Be interested to watch. But again, going back to Wolves and young players, coaches that players that listen to the coaches, take instructions well, and the information that they're being given is very important in terms of who's coaching. Let's say who's coaching Boulevard.
Albie Smith.
Albie Smith.
Was coaching.
Okay, but you still see the results is up and down. You never know what you're going to get with them. But if I can take another step further, it's going to be interesting. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. When the draw was made for the FA Cup, let's say we got Wolves against North Village or Wolves against Somerset away from home, or Somerset guy play away from home against Wolves. That's the day that Wolves are probably going to show up.
Yeah,
they're going to show up. Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see Hamilton Parish who they get picked against. So you guys, about coaching and teams, small country like we have, what we're saying is that organization is not always going to be that you will win, but organization helps in terms of development. And I think development is most important for what's happening, where the country's going. So again, getting back, it's with Andrew, with let's say Sergio Goda and Hamilton Parish, you are seeing some very good structured football in that division.
Dennytown as well. To add to that conversation, Dennytown for me has the most comprehensive plan in place from the president right down to the team. So what you see out of Dennytown, of course, Deval Boyles has a lot of experience from coaching, so he takes that experience into the presidency to know what the team needs. So I see him. You could see Dennytown. They didn't miss a beat because Kwame left. They had a coaching team in place. So because they had a coaching team in place, somebody else just steps into that and they keep going in a good direction. And what's very, very rewarding for Dennytown is that the way that they play football, you see that at the senior level as how they play football at the junior level. They got a bunch of ball handlers on there that handle the ball very comfortably, play out the back, they're creative, and now they'll put it into a whole culture of football. And in that culture of football that used to be raw, they added organization to it. They added organization to the raw piece that they have now. and they're not missing a beat.
Yeah.
They're not missing a beat right through their whole football program. They're not missing a beat, and that's an example that we need to take from, in as we look to develop football.
Sure.
Well, Eden, listen, what we guys actually talked about at the beginning of the season about this team's gonna be like this, and we talked about Aaron Jenkins taking over the reins at Dennytown. Now, I watched the behavior of the players when they lost, when Northwoods beat them. That was the first loss, I do believe. Am I correct?
Yeah.
They weren't out of the game, but even though 2-0 down, they were still in the game. They could have actually came back and drew 2 or probably went on to win it. But I was watching the behavior of the players. They were still structured. Okay, they lost it 2-0, and they rebounded after that. So, they said, okay, hands up to Northwoods. Even when I had the interview with the coach, and he was, he's very polite. He would say, yeah, we were off today. Northwoods really, they scored those goals, those 2 goals that they scored, and well taking goals. But hands up to him. He never looked like, he is upset. He just says, let's go back to the drawing board. We're still going to push on. And I did really appreciate that interview that I had with him because he stayed calm. He says, go back and know what we want to do. And you seen what's happening. You see already.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll look at the picks from last week and the ones coming up for next week. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, home of Bermuda's best beverages, is starting the new year with an exciting new beverage, Numa, the organic sport hydration drink. Founded by brothers Brandon and Jared, both pro hockey players, Numa stands for No More Artificials and is an organic plant-based sports drink with real ingredients like organic coconut water and Himalayan pink salt. Numa partnered with fitness groups in the USA early in their development and expertly responded to the call for purity and simplicity. Try all flavors of Numa organic sports drink this month. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Before we get into the picks, let me just quickly run down the standings. In the Premier Division, the Dennytown Hornets are the league leaders, having played 11 games. They have 30 points. PHC Zebras have played 10 games. They have 23 points. North Village Rams have played 12 games. They're in third with 21. Devonshire Cougars have played 10 games. They have 20 points. St. George's Colts have played 9 games. They have 16 points. Somerset Trojans have played 9 games. They have 15 points. Robin Hood have played 10 games. They have 11. Devonshire Colts have played 10. They have 11. Crossroads have played 11. They have 6. Southampton Rangers have played 12. They have 5. And Somerset Eagles have played 10 games, and they have 4 points. So that's 1 through 11. In the first division, Hamilton Parish have played 9. They have 25. BAA have played 9. They have 18. The Manchester Club have played 9. They have 16. Boulevard Blazers have played 9, and they also have 16. Wolves have played 9. They have 12. St. David's have played 9. They have 12 as well. Then Island Rangers have played 9. They have 6. Vasco have played 9. They have 4. And Paget Lions have played 8 games, and they have 2 points. So that's how the standings look in the Premier and First Division. Now we take a look back at our picks from the previous week. Southampton Rangers and North Village. We all took North Village, so we got a point there. And then the PHC Zebras playing Devonshire Cougars. Punchy, you and I took a draw. Maceo, you took Cougars, and Keita took PHC. So a point for a point for Keita. Then it was Somerset Eagles and Robin Hood. I took a draw. Punchy, you took Eagles to win. Maceo and Keita took Robin Hood. So they both get another point there. Devonshire Colts and North Village, all four of us took North Village. So I got 1 for the Premier Division, 2 for the Premier Division. Punchy is 1 for the 2 for the Premier Division. Maceo is 3 for the Premier Division, and Keita is 4 for the Premier Division. So then in the first division, Wolves and BAA, myself, Keita, and Maceo took BAA, and Punchy, you took Wolves, and that ended in a draw. And the Paget and Vasco, myself and Maceo took Paget, Keita and Punchy took Vasco, and we knew that was a 1-1 draw. So as we finish that week, Keita's now leading with 54, Maceo has 53, Punchy has 52, and I have 49. Now we have a game midweek up at Somerset and at BAA Field. So first of all, it is Somerset Eagles hosting Devonshire Cougars up at Somerset Cricket Club on Wednesday night. We'll start with you, Punchy.
I'm taking Cougars to win that.
Okay.
That's a win for Cougars, yeah.
Okay. Maceo?
An easy win for Cougars.
And I'm going to take Cougars as well. And then down at BAA Field, it is Devonshire Colts taking on PHC Zebras. Maceo?
PHC is gonna hammer them.
Okay. I'm going to take PHC as well. What about you, Punchy?
PHC to win.
Okay. And then there's a little turnaround for PHC because on Saturday night they play at BAA Field and they take on Robin Hood. I'm going to take PHC in that game. Punchy?
PHC to win again.
PHC for sure.
Okay, all 3 PHC. And then on Sunday, St. George's will host North Village at Wellington Oval. Punchy?
Whoa. Okay. That's a little tough one. It's not, but I'm gonna say North Village by the odd girl.
Okay. All right. Maceo?
Well, this is what Tassis and George's is a cricket club or a football club, right? This is the Tassis that got any better. They lost out to North Village, where they probably should have got a better result at the first time. So this is the test. But I actually think they're going to fail the test, and North Village is going to beat them. North Village is going to beat them down there on that bigger field, so definitely North Village.
Well, to no one's surprise, I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say St. George's will win this game.
There's your heart or your head. Just let everybody know that. Which one is it?
It's a bit of heart, but it's head because this will be their first time playing at home since the passing and the funeral, as well as they've had a couple of weeks off due to COVID.
Okay.
So they're going to be emotionally and determined to do something really, really special. So that's why I picked St. George's.
Okay.
Okay. So next game is Somerset Trojans are home to Devonshire Colts. Maceo, you're first.
That's it. That's the interesting game, right? Because Somerset's not learning. I watched Somerset against Dannytown the other day, whereas what I was saying, Jamal brings the Dannytown style against Dannytown, and Dannytown manhandled him. Dannytown beat Somerset easily the other day in the friendship. Easily. It wasn't even a contest. So now you've got two teams in Somerset and Devonshire Colts that are pretty much they're pretty much all over the place right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say who's going to get that one across the line. It really is. I'm gonna pick Somerset because they're Somerset, man. And Colts is just going in a different direction. Colts is going to go. That's going to be the game. That's going to be the game. And the reason I'm picking Somerset because that's going to be the game of chaos. And Jamar is the best chaos coach.
Well, I just think I'm taking Somerset as well, and I'm taking Somerset because I think structurally right now they're a little better, and they have some weapons that if given the opportunity that they can score. So this can end up either a blowout or a squeaker. But I think Somerset has just a little more at this time than Devonshire Colts. Aren't you?
I'm gonna go with Somerset and the Herd. I think I think I'm gonna go with Somerset for this one to beat Devonshire Colts. Even and it's gonna be interesting too because we picked Devonshire Colts to lose to PHC, so that's what they're gonna do when they go Somerset. But I still think Somerset's got the edge in that. I think so, especially playing at home.
Right. All right. So the next match is Southampton Rangers. This should be a funny one. Southampton Rangers are hosting Crossroads at Southampton Oval. I'll go first with this one, and I honestly believe that Southampton Rangers will pick up their second win of the season in this one. Punchy?
Nah. I'm gonna go with Crossroads with this.
Crossroads.
I'm going to Crossroads with this. I'm going to Crossroads. Crossroads to win that game.
Okay.
I don't know how Southampton Rangers is going to bounce back. I just think Crossroads have got a little bit more to play for. In this survival situation that they're in with Rangers and Somerset Eagles in themselves. I think Crossroads. I think I give Crossroads this one.
Yeah. The winner out of this one actually stands a chance of catching either Devonshire Colts or Robin Hood, because not so much Rangers, but if Crossroads could pull out a victory, they will move on to 9 points, 2 points behind Robin Hood and Devonshire Colts, and still have to play them. So, but if Rangers win, Rangers will move to 8, 3 points behind. They still have to play those teams. So, yeah. All right. So now.
Our Rangers will win this one. The battle coach. They're gonna put up organization. They're gonna give a platform for Dion Starvel to impact that match.
Mm-hmm.
And they, within Dion Starvel, they have the intelligence, they have the quality to be able to get a result across the line.
Yeah.
He knows which moments to pick. When to pick the moments, and so I see Rangers beating this one.
Sure. And then the final Premier Division game of the weekend is Devonshire Cougars are at home to the Dandytown Hornets. So if Devonshire Cougars have any thoughts or chances of saying that they can pull it back and win the league, this will be their moment to do so. So Macy, you're first.
Devonshire Cougars and Dandytown Hornets at home.
Yes. Devonshire Cougars are home.
They can beat Dandytown. They could potentially beat Dandytown, but they're not ready to beat Dandytown right now. To beat Dandytown, Kwame would have to change his philosophy on the game and his approach to the game. He would have to change his approach to the game to be able to beat Dandytown. I don't see him doing that. I don't see him changing his approach to the game because he likes the game in a certain way. And his approach to the game is about outplaying teams and matching up. And right now, nobody will outplay Dandytown.
Okay.
They will not. No one will outplay Dandytown right now. They have to, they have to stifle them. They have to and hit them on the counter attacks. So I see Dandytown. I could see a draw in it, but I see Dandytown wanting to take it across the line. I can see this game being a draw, and just make it a lot more edgy for Dandytown to get the result across the line for us to lead. But I see him getting this across the line.
Okay. I've taken Dandytown. Punchy?
Oh, can I ask you, that game is played on a Saturday night or Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock?
Sunday. It's Sunday. Potentially It's Sunday at 6:30 at Devonshire Recreation Club.
6:30.
Yes.
Showcase. Okay, showcase. All right. Adding to what I said earlier about Denny
Oh,
Thomas.
it's a night game?
Potentially.
Potentially.
Hold on. Cougars lights.
Potentially.
Yeah.
We will find out this week.
Okay.
Yes, potentially. Well, here we go. A showcase. Okay. I think I'm gonna go with Danny Ton on this one. Like I said, I watched the behavior of the players when they lost to North Village, and North Village really well taking goals. But I think I think I'm going with Danny Ton for this year. I think a win at Cougars, because that's I think it'll be they're gonna add a little. This will be a little bit more, but Danny Ton will offer in that game. And I think I'm going with Danny Ton for that game for a win.
Okay. We're going to go into the first division now. On Saturday down at Wellington Oval, Wolves will play host to Young Men Social Club. I'm going to take Social Club because if they have any aspirations of being not only a title contender but a promotion contender, they have to keep winning from here on in. They cannot allow BAA, who's in second, to gain any more ground on them. So, or make it a bigger gap. So I'm going to take Social Club for this game. Punchy?
Yep, I think so. I think in terms of you're gonna see, this is one of those battles there. Trust me, there's gonna be one of those. Yeah, there's both their teams from town. I think I think Social Club are the odd girl. I'm gonna take Social Club on that one at Wellington Oval.
All right, Maceo.
I always get tricked with Wolves, right? Because I'm so attracted to good players. I have an attraction. I have a attraction to good players, and Wolves have some of the country's better players in their experience and their ability. But I know when you've got good players that have got big personalities, if you're not got somebody organizing them, what you end up with 10 different ways of playing football. And Wolves keep disappointing me. They keep disappointing me when I think they're going to push a result across the line. They're not going to push this result across the line. They're not. So, but I'm gonna pick a draw for this one. I'm gonna pick a draw for this one. I think Social Club will also struggle to push this result across the line.
Okay.
So draw.
All right. The next match is Hamilton Parish on Sunday at home, Wellington Oval against Vasco. Punchy?
That's Hamilton Parish. That's Hamilton Parish.
Okay. Maceo?
I'm gonna hammer Vasco. I see a hammer. Vasco is now resorted to having the coach having to play. He's not gonna hammer him.
And
I just don't have too much quality.
I have taken Parish as well. Now, the next one is kind of tricky as well because it's St. David's at Lords against BAA. Now, as I said earlier, BAA are in second. They want to make sure that they keep themselves with a little breathing room, knowing that they would already know the result because the day before between Wolves and Social Club, so they would know what they would need to do in order to stay in second place. So, Maceo, we start with you.
Andrew's just gonna have too much quality, too much experience, too much manipulation of the game. Too much. It's gonna be like Ferguson. He can control the refs. He could control St. David's. He's from St. David's. He could tell them what to do. To be honest, he could go down there and tell St. David's what to do. So it's just gonna have too much power down there, and it's gonna get the result across the line. He'll definitely get that result across the line.
Okay.
Andrew's got Billy Bye in him, man. St. David's no shoes on before, so it's very welcome down there.
Well, again, the two young teams as well. So, Punchy, I've taken.
I'm going to be Andrew's Hearn. That's like Hearn for him. So, I think he's going to master that particular game. He's looking forward to that one.
Right.
I can tell you that right now. But how he achieves that is organization, and they both got a lot of young players, open field, nice field to play on. I think St. Davis, I think BA will win this one.
Okay.
The odd goal. Maybe I'm looking at a 2-2, maybe a 3-1.
Okay. All right. The final game is Paget Lions are at home to Ireland Rangers. Macy, I'm sorry to say this, but I believe Paget Lions will win this game here. Punchy?
Nope. I'm going with Island Rangers for this one. Nope. Island Rangers going to beat Paget.
Okay. Watch Maceo go against his own talk all season. Maceo, what you pick?
Oh man, you're making me fight myself now. There's no fun when you have to fight your own self, right? Nobody.
I know you want to pick Ireland. I know you want to pick Paget.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins. I gotta put my ego out of the way with this one. I gotta get my ego out of the way. You know, Paget is gonna get a result across the line. They're gonna get a result across the line this week against Island Rangers. You know, Island Rangers is going in a whole different direction. Paget is organizing themselves. They're structured. I saw them play twice now. You have to beat them. They're not giving you the match. You have to beat them. And Island Rangers are not going to organize themselves enough to be able to beat. So I see them getting a result across the line. So I'm picking Paget.
I think Paget today would have been their FA Cup. But this next game is their FA Cup final.
Yeah. And it's gonna be a party up Audrey. They're gonna act like they won. It's gonna be a party up Audrey. Yeah, they're gonna act like they want something because they're hyped up. Trust me, I see the president all the time. I see the field of players. They're hyped up. Paget is hyped up to win a game. That is their ultimate in this season, to be able to win a game. They're accepted where they are. They haven't given up on how they play and how they want to do things. And at the end of the day, the game's going to reward them. The game has to reward their continued approach to what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, and then the reward for them is a victory.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I do want to say next week we'll be joined by a sponsor who is looking to have us select a player of the week in for the both combined, and that person will receive a prize, and then we will pick a player of the month, and that will start in February. So next weekend we will be joined by the sponsor who will give out as much details as possible, and then it's up to us week in and week out to pick who we thought or think is the player of the week, and then of course out of that pick, who is the player of the month. All right.
Yeah, that's a good progression for the game, right? So good stuff on your behalf and the states and Island Stats behalf for bringing that, because that's a very good progression for the game to get people interest, and it gives us another area to debate of the players, and that's where the game needs to go, right? This is where we need to go to create this interest around the game. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. I'm glad that that's happening again. Before, in the days of we guys' time, it used to be the Mid-Ocean News, if you guys can remember, and they have you on, and you the player of the week, and then they get a profile of you, and so guys were like, so good to be in the papers, and everybody on it. Hey, I saw you in the papers. So this is very good for the country. Giving back to the game. Giving back to the game, which is most important for players to feel rewarded.
Yes.
For the efforts that they're putting in. Say, hey, that was really good, and I'm hoping to see more of that. The better young player, the up and coming young player of the year. So much more to promote the game more in the country. And I just want to add to the program. I'm very glad I read the papers this week. I'm not going off about having Corey Hill being hired by the VFA, the association, the Football Association, in terms of looking out for the talent overseas. I thought it's a very good point direction, which needs to be done. And I thought I just kudos to his being hired to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd inject.
Sure, not a problem. Well, guys, we'll be back next week Sunday with another edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Let's see how we make out. Some interesting games coming up, starting with Wednesday night with the match at Somerset and the match at BAA Field. With that, we say good night.
Good night, guys.